We couldn't afford to go and move closer to my friends, which I think has led to an amount of loneliness on my part. You pick up your phone and it's full of distractions.
It's a fight of attention, right?
I bet any parent listening to this would be able to relate.
Like, I have missed my grandmother's funeral. Is it worth it? Do you really have a choice in where you live?
I think this has been really difficult for us. When I left the RAF, we were living in the south. We were in military housing. It was super cheap. And when I left, I was like, there's no way we can afford to live here. So we moved into the northeast because it was really, really, really affordable. And we got the most for our money, right? When I told people who I was working with then afterwards, they're like, oh yeah, we got a 3-bed house, decent garden. They were like, what? For that money? We had to make that choice because that's the money we had. The cost of that was moving completely away from all of my friends, which I think has led to an amount of loneliness on my part. Both my wife and I grew up in Leeds, so we're not too far away from there. But I'd already moved on from my friends in that area because I was friends with them in high school. And I feel like you go through these phases with friends, and it's not that you ditch people, but you just move on, and naturally people split their separate ways. Like my best friend at high school, we went to 2 separate universities and we kept in touch for a couple of years. We met up when we went back home and stuff, and it was okay. But she went off to university, met a whole new bunch of friends, did all the experiences she had there. I did the same, new bunch of friends. Our lives just went 2 separate ways. So coming back up here, I wasn't coming back to any friends here. We've moved a few times since leaving the RF and coming up this way, and we've gone further north each time. Not by a huge amount, but I'm probably now an extra half an hour drive further away from my friends than when we first moved up here. And everything's so expensive now. Like going to see my friends is with kids now, a 4-hour drive with stops and 70 quid in fuel, right? We're going to grab some food on the way down. We might go for a meal or something whilst we're there. It might be a couple £100, which, for some people might not be too bad. But for a lot of others, myself included, I don't have £200 to go see my friend every weekend. I see them a couple of times a year. That's added to a level of loneliness, which is on top of feeling more lonely because of working from home. You can see a video on that up there. And even when I do go and see them, they've got kids. So they had a second baby recently. We went to go down and see them, and my eldest and his eldest went to go outside, play outside, so we both stood in the garden. And you have these sort of half conversations. I bet any parent listening to this would be able to relate. You're watching your child and you're thinking, don't eat that slug, don't pick up that stick and beat somebody else, don't jump off of that. Like just stop doing, like just run around in a circle or something, or just go on the swing, or just play nicely, right? Stop trying to do all the stuff that you're not meant to do. So you've got half an eye on them, and then you're shouting at them because they're getting to something. And then you're trying to have this conversation with someone, and then you've forgotten what they said, or you're only half listening in the first place. So you don't get the chance to have a really good conversation because you're distracted. And that's when you do see them. I feel like when you don't see them and you're just trying to do a message, because we're in a super connected world, I can pick up my phone tonight and do a video call with them. They're going to be distracted whilst they're doing it. They might not be free. Like I say, they've got kids, they've got full-time jobs and everything else. So again, even if they do pick up the phone, they're probably still trying to do something else. They were expecting the call. If I message him, he's useless at responding. It takes him like 2 weeks to respond. I don't even know why I bother messaging him. But I think that's because you pick up your phone and it's full of distractions. So I've messaged him. He's probably picked it up because he's heard the ping or whatever, reads the notification and goes, oh, I'll get back to him later. Right? He's distracted by something else and then he just doesn't get back to me. I feel like it's so much harder when you are in person to get distracted. So even when you do have the kids there or whatever, you're still distracted, but you can have a better conversation.
Yeah.
But it's hard. And as you progress through life, even the friends that you made, you might move through different phases with them. Some of my friends have kids and are married. Other friends don't. And I find myself being able to relate to them less. And they relate to me less. Not that I can't see them, not that I can't have a laugh when I do see them, but also they're just in a different place. They might say, oh, let's get together. I was going to do a bit of a party around my place. I was thinking of starting about 7, 8 o'clock. And I'm going, well, my kids are already in bed at 8 o'clock. Like, I'm not going to be there. You know, you think differently. So you do find yourself separating a bit. And I think really coming back to the question that you asked about, do you really have a choice in where you live? I think your financial position dictates that so much. Like we couldn't afford to go and move closer to my friends. Or certainly not if we wanted a house that I would be comfortable with my children growing up in. We have one income, that's a choice we've made, so my wife can be at home with the kids whilst they're young. And if anything, we're really lucky to be able to make that choice, because not everyone can.
I think that's the compromise, because you're also compromising, or at least from what you've explained, your mental health around being lonely or being away from your friends. And there's a balance. And unfortunately, sometimes, as you've said before, sometimes that balance is you being the rock for the family.
Yeah. And I realise some of it's also on me, because I get a little bit stuck in my own world, and I could have maybe gone and found new friends around here, could have joined a few clubs and things like that. But I honestly just don't feel like I've had the time. And again, finances come into it. You know, if I want to go to join a squash club or something, I'm probably going to be paying for it. I personally don't feel like I'm in that place. I feel like I'm still relying on those friendships, but those friendships are harder to maintain. I know you're in a different place, right? You don't have kids, but you've also moved, like, literally the other side of the world. So surely you've got a different take on this.
I think coming from New Zealand, like a lot of my friends have moved away from New Zealand. One of my really good friends moved to Melbourne and then on to UAE. Another friend moved to Singapore. Another friend moved from London to Dallas recently. And then I've got a couple friends, or a few friends in Wellington that have either moved back there after being somewhere else in the world or have never left. And I think what I relate to some of what you've talked about is when I call them, and let's say they do have kids, because some of them, 3 of them do have kids. It's a fight of attention, right? So the intention might be there for the first 5 minutes of the call, and then you hear a bang, and then that person walks away for like a few minutes and comes back, and they might be with you again for another 2 minutes, and then they walk away again because something else happened, and then they come back, and you have this fragmented conversation. And that fragmented conversation may be okay on their side. They might be getting what they need out of it. I'm not sure. But for me, it feels like stop-start. And it's interesting because when you have those video calls or interactions that are more when the kids are asleep, maybe that's the best way to put it, or when they're with the other parent, then I find it's a lot more engaging. One of my friends, he's really good at incorporating his child into the call in such a way that we all interact together. And okay, there are times where the child is, being a child.
They do
that happens. Yeah, that happens, I'm sure. But predominantly it works. And it also means that I develop a relationship with her, right? Like I get to see her grow up. I get to interact with her and what have you, which is quite nice. Well, it's nice for me. She probably thinks I'm just Uncle Ash and I'm just this random person on the phone. But it is nice. But I think connection for me now means flying. Like ultimately, I've got to fly and go, worst case, all the way back home, which is 30 something hours. That's just not possible anymore. Like I have missed my grandmother's funeral. A lot of my cousins have gotten married, and like 2 are getting married. One just got married and another one's getting married in April. I'm going to miss that because of my choice to live where I live. Is it worth it? Absolutely. A portion of my heart, when I say that, sinks, but the other portion of my heart feels, yeah, actually, I'm in the right place. It's such a weird mixed
I think
feeling.
it's, in a way, it's selfish. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. Because I think we all do do these things selfishly, because you're going to miss those moments, but you're living where you want to be day to day. You're getting what you want, what's best for you, and it's not a bad thing to put you first. In fact, I think it's a good thing to put you first. So I don't mean that in a these things are selfish in a bad way.
Yeah.
I've chosen to be further away from my friends for a better lifestyle for my family. I'm being selfish in that respect. But I think we've got to recognise there's always going to be a cost. Because I'm not saying that we couldn't be further south, we couldn't be further closer to these friends. But the cost is going to come from, we're going to live in a much smaller place or a much rougher area. Maybe we don't have access to some of the stuff that we have access to now. That's not the trade-off I'm willing to make so that I am closer to my friends.
Yeah. And I think we have this ability. You've talked about in one of our other episodes about struggling to make friends at work and what have you, because the working from home is creates a barrier of some sort. I probably have had the opposite in the sense that, sure, my very first role in London, I was like I met one of my good friends there, and then I've been in remote roles since then. But then I would say the handful of friends that I've made since have all come from interacting with them frequently. And it meant that when I joined our consulting firm 4 years ago, I was talking to who I would call one of my really good friends every day. We would have a meeting in the morning for 15 minutes to catch up before we would do the client work. And because we were talking every day for probably about a year and a half to nearly 2 years, our relationship kind of just went from colleagues to friends quite naturally. And I've ended up going and meeting her husband, and we've gone out, like I've taken my wife and we've gone out and had a meal, and we hang out now. And if I need advice, I give her a call. And it's interesting because I feel that I think it's possible. And I think what you said earlier is, yes, there's a financial barrier to joining a club and starting a sport or what have you. But just like how we became friends, sometimes it's the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's working on the same project, being on the bench together. It could be a plethora of things, but at the end of the day, it's effort.
I agree. And if you're willing to put a little bit of effort in, you could join our free community where we're bringing people together, helping along this path, trying to help people feel a little less lonely. We hold weekly calls on a Thursday evening. You can come and chat to us. We can chat about anything, whether that's you want some support with something or you just want to chat about Formula One, anime, cheese, whatever.
Donuts.
We'll be there every week. So you can come and join that and find the link in the description.